What's up, everyone? Welcome to Zach Reviews, a new series here on the Chess Nerd, an IGTV series for once. Quite a change here. And it's basically me, Zach, your host, reviewing parts of my games, maybe your games. We'll see. Send me your games. I'll probably analyze them on air and post them. But for now, episode 1, we're going to be reviewing a game I just played, a rapid game against an Austrian 2200 player that happened on chess.com. It was a rapid 10-minute game. And so, yeah, here we are in a position where I play the black pieces against this Austrian. And white has a passed protected pawn on a6, which looks very dangerous, and I have little to no counterplay, and this is how I saved in my position. And now I play d4, a little counterplay. I calculated it, and it didn't look good in my book, like bad counterplay. So yeah, I wasn't fond of it, but again, little to no counterplay with the black pieces. After d4, white plays bishop d2, folding back, which was quite impressive for me. I guess he didn't want to participate in me unfolding my doubled pawns on the c-file, so I play c4 here. And white takes. And the reason why they take is because they want me to have two isolated black pawns on the c-file, which basically can't help each other. You really want two pawns side by side. They're better together. They can form a pawn chain. They can force play better. And so after e takes d4 here, I have no choice but to play c5 here because I really want to take white's d4 pawn and have, two pawns side by side, very, very strong. So then obviously it attacks the white rook on b6, so he exchanges, and now I'm forking the d4 pawn and the a6 pawn. And so white has no choice but to give up the a pawn, which was quite dangerous, so I'm lucky there. And so takes, and now white and black have to have the same symmetry in the middle, where the opposite colored bishops defend pawns on c4 and c5, but white has one major advantage. White has a passed a pawn that he hasn't moved yet, so it's not yet dangerous, which explains the rook a7 move. So because I don't have the placement and the time to defend this white's c pawn potentially moving up, I have to have my eyes on the a pawn, which has the potential to be much more dangerous, So after rook a7, takes, bishop d4, bishop d5 here, because I'm scared, obviously. No, I just wanted to protect the c6, the c6 push, just because I want to have my rook on a3. That's my goal here. So after king f2, king f7, bishop e5, still being patient with black. Here again, you're looking for little desperate mistakes, impatient mistakes, and this is one of the impatient mistakes. After bishop e5, I play rook a5, attacking his pawn, just nibbling, at his pawn structure. And obviously, when you play a move with bishop e5, you tend to protect that pawn with bishop d6. And so that's what I was opting for with black, because once he plays bishop d6, his bishop is kind of tied to that c5 pawn and is kind of passive. So yeah, I loved having a playing against a bishop that didn't move for the rest of the game. That was really fun. And my bishop is still very, very active. Like you see, just the full diagonal and wide opportunities. This is my favorite move of the game. Even though there are quite some nice moves in this game, to be determined, to be revealed, I mean. Rook a3. So the thing is, this move accomplishes many things at once. So first of all, I'm cutting off the white position, so I'm cutting off the king off the third row. I'm also hinting at the g3 pawn, which looks very attractive to my pieces and is very weak, I must say, just because of that daring g4 pawn, which is very, very strong. You'll see it will play a big role later in the game. Rook a3 also, by playing rook a3, the a2 pawn, which was once considered a threat, is now out of oxygen and is choking, literally choking on its own position, and is looked at as a burden to be defended by his rook, which is now passive on c2 and will be passive on the second row until my rook gets off the a file. So that was nice. After rook d2, bishop c6, bishop e5, and now is where I really start to lay brick on white's position. So I play rook f3 check, and these moves are fluid from here. So king e2, c3 attacking the rook, also leaving opening up the diagonal a6 f1 for my bishop to do check right here, which I saw coming obviously. And here again after king d1, I have another tempo bishop a4, and now my c-pawn is way stronger than his c-pawn, and I have won that little sort of mini battle that you have to go through. And here, to protect the c1 square, he can't fold his rook back to d1, obviously, so he plays the bad move bishop b2, which on this gives me a nice little tactic, rook c3, which obviously you can't take my rook because of c1 queen, so he has to protect double. Rook c3 kind of acted as a fork between threatening c1 queen and threatening his c5 pawn, which is kind of crazy given it's a sacrifice at the same time. So king d2, rook takes c5, perfect. And after rook takes h6, I had prepared it for right after I saw rook c3. I saw this tactic, which is quite nice. c1 queen, one exclamation point or two. Comment down below, what do you think? Is this a 2 exclamation point worthy, or is it an obvious sacrifice? So after bishop takes c1, obviously I saw this coming. Rook c2, and now the only way for white to defend his bishop is to play king d1, which obviously loses to rook c6 check, and I just gained the rook, and I win the game. So this combination actually wins a bishop. But it's not over for white. He still has 2 pawns for the compensation, as compensation for the bishop, and he looks on to push his pawn and make his a pawn as dangerous as possible in the coming moves. So he has some counterplay, and he's not ready yet to resign, obviously. But I'm really, as black, I'm one step closer to making that happen. So rook a7, king e8, and a4. Rook c3 check, and now I'm really gambling on my chances to gain that g3 pawn, which is looking very, very nice and very weak. That g3 pawn is so hurt by the presence of my g4 pawn that it just makes it that much of a weaker pawn. So king f2, rook f3 check, king g2, and here I play bishop c6, potentially, threatening a discovery check. And here, white plays his final move of the game, which, in these positions, you just try to threaten as much as possible to make the opponent, to induce the opponent in bad moves and making bad moves. And this is what I did here with black. I snipped at little weaknesses in my opponent's position until he cracked, which was king h2 move, and now I played my final move of the game, rook f1, obviously threatening rook h1 checkmate here, which is undefendable, and white resigned. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Zach Reviews chess games, and leave a comment. Leave a comment saying which move you preferred. I will be looking at the comments, obviously, and tell me if you like the series. I mean, if you think it was boring, I really want to know, because I don't like wasting my time, and well, I had fun here, so I would love to make another episode if you guys liked it. So again, be safe, stay at home, and happy chess playing.